The quiet village of Mukoma sat nestled at the edge of a dense forest, where life followed the rhythms of the earth. Morning brought the soft crowing of roosters, afternoons were filled with the hum of daily labor, and evenings ended with the crackle of fires and the comforting murmur of storytelling. It was in this village that Amina, a spirited 12-year-old, lived with her father, Mzee Karanja. Though their life was modest, it was filled with love and warmth, at least until Mzee Karanja brought home a new wife. Nyambura, Amina's stepmother, arrived one sunny morning with an air of grace that quickly captured the villagers' attention. Clad in colorful lessos and adorned with beaded jewelry, she seemed a perfect addition to the household. At first, Amina admired her new stepmother, intrigued by her stories about life in her own village and her promises of a better, happier family life. For a fleeting moment, Amina thought this might be a fresh start, a way to fill the void left by her late mother, Wanjiku. But it didn't take long for the illusion to shatter. Nyambura's kindness faded almost as soon as Mzee Karanja left for the city to work. Her true nature began to surface, a cold, sharp woman who seemed to view Amina as an unwanted burden rather than a stepdaughter. The soft words of encouragement she'd once offered turned into harsh commands. "Can't you see the firewood needs fetching?" Nyambura barked one morning, her eyes narrowing. "Do I have to do everything myself?" Amina, confused by the sudden shift, tried her best to please her stepmother. She worked tirelessly, fetching water from the river, tending to the goats, and scrubbing the mud walls of their small home until her hands ached. Still, it was never enough. Nyambura found fault in everything Amina did, her sharp tongue cutting deeper than any physical wound. The villagers began to notice the change in Amina. Once vibrant and cheerful, she now walked with her head bowed, her laughter replaced by silence. "Poor child," some murmured. "She's not the same since her father remarried." But others were wary of getting involved. Nyambura had a way of twisting words, and no one wanted to get on her bad side. Amina's only escape was the forest. On her way to fetch firewood one afternoon, she wandered farther than usual and stumbled upon an enormous baobab tree. Its thick, gnarled trunk and sprawling branches seemed ancient, as though it had witnessed countless generations pass through Mukoma. Something about the tree drew Amina closer. She placed her hand on its rough bark, feeling an unexpected sense of calm. "This will be my secret place," she whispered to herself. The baobab was more than just a tree. It would soon become her refuge, her protector, and the key to uncovering secrets that would change her life forever. The days that followed Amina's discovery of the baobab were marked by growing tension at home. Nyambura's coldness became harsher, her accusations more biting. Amina found herself retreating to the forest more often, seeking solace beneath the ancient tree. It was the one place where she could escape the constant criticisms and find peace. The baobab stood tall and proud, its thick trunk twisted and scarred from centuries of storms and sun. Its branches stretched wide, as though embracing the skies, and its massive roots sank deep into the earth, anchoring it to the land like an unmovable guardian. Villagers often spoke of the tree in hushed tones, calling it the ancestors' watcher. Legends whispered that it held the spirits of those who had passed, their wisdom etched into its bark and their protection woven into its roots. Despite its mysterious reputation, Amina felt no fear when she sat beneath the baobab. In fact, she felt the opposite, safe, calm, and somehow understood. Sitting under its shade, she would talk aloud, pouring her heart out as though the tree could hear her. "Why doesn't she like me?" Amina asked one afternoon, resting her head against the bark. "But it's never enough. I miss Mama, she wouldn't have let this happen." The wind rustled through the tree's leaves, and for a brief moment, it sounded almost like a sigh. Amina looked up, startled. She shook her head, dismissing the thought. "I must be imagining things," she muttered, but deep down, she felt something unusual about the baobab, a presence she couldn't quite explain. At home, Nyambura grew increasingly suspicious of Amina's frequent trips to the forest. "Why do you disappear for hours?" she demanded one evening, her tone sharp. Are you meeting someone there? Plotting something against me? No, stepmother, Amina replied meekly, keeping her eyes downcast. I like the peace there. Peace, Nyambura scoffed. What nonsense. You're lazy, that's what it is. Tomorrow, you'll scrub the floors twice, and I want all the laundry done before sunset. Let's see if you have time for your peace. Amina nodded silently, her heart heavy. But even with the added chores, she couldn't stay away from the baobab. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the forest was bathed in golden light, Amina leaned against the tree and closed her eyes. The wind stirred again, and this time, she thought she heard a faint whisper. It was soft, like someone calling her name from far away. Amina. Her eyes flew open, her intensified after Amina began spending more time in the forest. She accused Amina of avoiding her chores and spreading lies about her to the villagers. You think you can make me look bad? Nyambura hissed one evening. You're just like your mother, weak and useless. Amina bit her tongue to keep from retaliating. She knew Nyambura was trying to provoke her. Instead, she quietly did as she was told and planned to visit the baobab after dark. That night, as Nyambura slept, Amina slipped out of the house. The moonlight guided her path to the tree. As she rested beneath its branches, she whispered her frustrations. I can't do this anymore. I feel so alone. The baobab seemed to respond with a gentle breeze, its leaves brushing together in rhythmic patterns. Amina felt as though the tree understood her pain, and for the first time in months, she fell asleep without fear. Strange occurrences began in the village. Goats went missing, crops withered without explanation, and eerie noises echoed at night. Nyambura, ever eager to shift blame, pointed her finger at Amina. She's cursed, she told the villagers. Ever since her mother died, bad luck has followed her. A few villagers nodded in agreement, but others remained skeptical. Mama Wanjiku, the village elder, warned against jumping to conclusions. The ancestors have their ways, she said critically. Amina continued visiting the baobab. The whispers grew more frequent, and though she couldn't make out the words, she felt a sense of protection every time she was near the tree. One night, Amina dreamed of a woman sitting beneath the baobab. The woman was old but radiant, her eyes filled with wisdom. You are not alone, she said, her voice soothing. We are with you. When Amina woke, the dream felt vivid, almost real. She couldn't shake the feeling that the woman was her ancestor, perhaps even her late mother. The thought gave her strength to face another day under Nyambura's oppressive rule. Nyambura, frustrated by the lack of support from the villagers, decided to take matters into her own hands. She planted a bundle of bones and feathers under Amina's bed, items often associated with witchcraft. Then, she invited the villagers to their home, pretending to discover the cursed objects. See? Nyambura cried dramatically. This is proof. She's been practicing witchcraft. Amina was dragged before the villagers, who murmured amongst themselves. Some believed Nyambura, while others suspected foul play. Mama Wanjiku, however, remained silent, her wise eyes fixed on Amina. Distraught, Amina fled to the forest. The baobab's whispers were louder than ever, almost urgent. She pressed her hands against its trunk, seeking comfort. What should I do? Pulse beneath her palms. A gust of wind stirred the clearing, and for a moment, Amina thought she saw symbols glowing faintly on the bark. She didn't understand their meaning, but she felt a surge of courage. Amina sought out Mama Wanjiku, desperate for guidance. The elder listened carefully as Amina recounted her experiences with the baobab. After a long pause, Mama Wanjiku nodded. The tree is sacred, she said. It watches over those in need. Your mother's spirit may dwell there, protecting you. The revelation filled Amina with hope. She vowed to stand her ground against Nyambura's lies. One evening, after another harsh scolding from Nyambura, Amina fled to the baobab, her heart heavy with frustration. This time, as she rested against its trunk, the whispers became clearer. They were no longer mere murmurs but distinct words. "Dig, beneath the roots." Amina froze. The voice was soft but commanding, and it sent chills down her spine. Though hesitant, she found herself following the instruction. She began to dig at the base of the tree with her bare hands, the soil surprisingly loose and soft. After several minutes, her fingers struck something solid. She pulled out a small wooden box, weathered but intact. It was intricately carved, the patterns familiar yet unplaceable. Inside, she found her late mother's journal. Amina clutched the journal to her chest, tears streaming down her face, feeling a connection to her mother she hadn't experienced in years. She opened the journal and began to read, her hands trembling as the truth about Nyambura and her family began to unfold. The journal revealed painful but vital truths. Her mother, Wanjiru, had been a beloved healer in the village, respected for her wisdom and kindness. Nyambura, however, had always been envious of her position. The journal detailed how Nyambura had spread lies about Wanjiru, accusing her of using dark magic to maintain her influence. One entry caught Amina's eye: "If anything happens to me, the baobab will protect Amina. Its roots are strong, and its spirit is ancient. She will never be alone." Amina felt a surge of clarity. Her mother's words confirmed what she had suspected all along: the baobab was not just a tree but a guardian. It had been protecting her from Nyambura's lies and the village's judgment. Armed with the knowledge from her mother's journal, Amina began to see the baobab in a new light. She started paying closer attention to its whispers, which guided her actions. The tree seemed to pulse with energy, its presence both comforting and powerful. At home, Nyambura grew more erratic. Her attempts to control the narrative were failing, and the villagers' trust in her waned further. Sensing her weakening influence, Nyambura devised one final plan to rid herself of nightfall to enact her scheme. She followed Amina to the baobab, bringing with her a group of villagers. "Tonight, we'll catch her in the act of witchcraft," she whispered to them. Amina, unaware of Nyambura's presence, sat beneath the tree, reading her mother's journal by the light of the moon. She whispered her thoughts aloud, seeking guidance from the baobab. When Nyambura and the villagers arrived, Nyambura dramatically pointed at Amina. "There she is, summoning her dark powers." The villagers hesitated, uncertain. Amina stood up, clutching her mother's journal. "I have nothing to hide," she said, her voice calm but firm. "If you want the truth, I'll show you." The villagers crowded around the baobab, watching as Amina opened the journal. She began reading aloud passages that revealed Nyambura's jealousy and lies. Each word struck like a hammer, shattering Nyambura's carefully constructed image. "You wanted to destroy my mother," Amina said, her voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside her. "And now you want to destroy me." Nyambura tried to interrupt, but Mama Wanjiku silenced her with a raised hand. "Let the girl speak," she said, her voice commanding. As Amina finished reading, the baobab's leaves began to rustle, though there was no wind. The villagers watched in awe as the tree seemed to come alive, its branches moving as if it knocked Nyambura to the ground. The villagers gasped, interpreting it as a sign from the ancestors. Mama Wanjiku stepped forward, her expression stern. "The tree does not lie," she said. "It has revealed the truth. Nyambura, you have brought shame upon yourself." The villagers turned on Nyambura, demanding that she leave the village. She tried to plead her case, but no one would listen. Her lies had been exposed, and her power over the community was gone. Amina watched silently as Nyambura packed her belongings and left. Though she felt a sense of justice, she also felt a pang of sadness. Despite everything, Nyambura had been part of her family, however cruelly. With Nyambura gone, Amina began to rebuild her life. The villagers apologized for doubting her, and Mama Wanjiku took her under her wing, teaching her about her mother's legacy as a healer. Amina started helping the community, offering small remedies and advice, slowly earning their trust. One night, Amina dreamed of her mother again. Wanjiru appeared radiant and proud, her voice filled with love. "You have done well, my child," she said. "The Baobab will always be with you, but now you have the strength to stand on your own." When Amina woke, she felt at peace. She returned to the Baobab to thank it for its protection. The whispers were gone, replaced by a calm stillness. She understood that the tree's role in her life as a respected member of the village. The Baobab remained her sacred refuge, a symbol of her resilience and the strength of her ancestors. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but she no longer faced them with fear. The whispers of the tree had taught her courage, and her mother's love had guided her home.